please call the roll.
Good morning, everyone. Calling the roll for the Monday, November 19th Board of Control meeting. It is now 11:06 a.m. Nan Baker.
Here.
Dale Miller.
Here.
Trevor McAleer serving as an alternate for Dan Brady.
Here.
Mike Dever.
Here.
Armin Butich.
Here.
Dennis Kennedy. Lenora Lockett. Here. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Minutes from November 13th. Are there any corrections? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Public comment?
No public comment at this time,
No tabled items?
and no tabled items.
Okay, let's start.
First item is item number BC 2018-802, Department of Public Works, recommending an award on requisition 43518 and enter into a contract with Fulton and Association in the amount not to exceed $19,450, and it's for testing, adjusting, and air balancing of various floors of the Cleveland Police Headquarters building. And it's for the period November 19th, 2018 through December 18th, 2018.
Good morning, Tom Pavich, Department of Public Works. This first item, recommending award to Fulton Associates. This is related to the air balancing of at the Cleveland Police Headquarters. It's basically the calibration of the temperature control devices, proper airflow, ensure the HVAC fan speeds are operating optimal. We did this, it was an informal bid for contract through BuySpeed, went to 37 vendors. Fulton was the only bidder, and this is the final air balancing of the exhaust system for that area.
Thank you. Questions? Councilman Miller?
Did we have a prior estimate as to how much money we expected this to cost?
I don't recall what the actual estimate is. I believe it was under 25. The original estimate we know was under 25,000, because that's why we did this as an informal bid. If there was any anticipation it was going to exceed that dollar amount, we did a formal bid. Fortunately, this came in under $20,000.
Further questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. McAleer. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Item passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item BC 2018-803, Department of Public Works, recommending an award on requisition 43105 and to enter into a contract with DBT Transportation Services LLC in the amount not to exceed $8,000, and it's for maintenance and data services on the automated weather observation and Naviad systems at the Cuyahoga County Airport, and it's for the period November 19th, 2018 through November 18th, 2020.
Good morning, Tom Pavich, Public Works again. We're recommending an award to DBT. This is for the maintenance of the AWAS, which is the Automated Weather Observing System at the airport, as well as the software that links the observations from that weather system to the FAA Weather Center. Again, we did this as an informal bid through BuySpeed, went to 7 different vendors. These were the only bidders we got, and just recommending the award to DBT.
Thank you. Questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is a two-part item. Item number BC 2018-804, Department of Public Works. A, submitting an RFP exemption on requisition 44074, which will result in an award recommendation to Bentley Systems Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $7,621, and it's for the purchase of Bentley Select CAD system software subscription services, and it's for the period December 30th, 2018 through December 29th, 2019, and B, recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Nicole English, Public Works. This is an RFP exemption because this is the software that we use for our engineers in both the road and bridge side and the sanitary side to develop plans. You know, essentially it's the CAD that we use to draw the lines and calculate our roadway and bridge projects. And so this is the direct vendor that you have to buy the software from, similar to if you wanted Office, you buy it from Microsoft. And this is the next year's agreement.
Thank you. Questions?
Yes.
Councilman Miller?
Since this is the only available vendor, why is this not listed as a sole source?
I'm not sure. I guess because we could buy, you know, we use AutoCAD. You could buy, there's another software that's called MicroStation. It's the county has chosen that platform, and this is years and years ago, so maybe that's why you could go with a different CAD, but, you know, for this platform, you have to buy it through Bentley. I don't know if Lenora has any insight.
Any other question? Councilwoman Baker.
Yes, being this is something that we've used for years, why is it that we go year to year? Is there possibly a better price if we were to lock it in for 3 years?
I'm not sure if you would get a better price or if they would only do a yearly, you know.
I believe it was Tom Pavich Public Works. I believe last year, someone in Road and Bridge, they only do this on an annual basis. That way they can adjust price. But we can certainly look into that when we go back to them.
Okay, good, thank you.
Further questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilwoman Miller. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Item passes. Thank you.
Next item, BC 2018-805, Department of Development, submitting a contract with Cuyahoga County Land Reutilization Corporation in the amount not to exceed $3 million for administration of the demolition of vacant, abandoned, nuisance, or blighted structures for the Cuyahoga County Property Demolition Program. And it's for the period November 19, 2018 through December 31st, 2019.
Morning, Ken Surratt from the Department of Development. This item is the third and final award to the County Land Bank as per the Cuyahoga County Property Demolition Program ordinance.
Thank you. Questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilwoman Miller. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Thank you.
Next item, BC 2018-806, Department of Development, submitting an agreement with the City of Cleveland Heights for allocation of fiscal year 2014 through 2015 home funds for various home activities for the December 1st, 2016 through November 30th, 2018 to extend the time period to April 30th, 2020, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $297,270.
Ken Surratt again from the Department of Development. This is the contract to essentially give 2 years worth of HUD home funding to the City of Cleveland Heights. They are members of our housing home consortium, and this is the allocation per HUD. We just serve as the fiscal agent.
Thank you. Questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilwoman Miller. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Item passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, BC 2018-807, Department of Development, recommending a payment to Northeast Ohio Mayors and City Managers Association in the amount of $907.40 to cover a portion of expenses incurred for the rental of a booth and trade show table at the Global Retail Real Estate Convention held on May 20th, 2018.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Greg Huth of the Development Department. This is ICSC's one of their annual conferences. That's really kind of a major. It's a big deal amongst the retail community, and the way for us to market ourselves to the retail community. We had agreed with the City Managers Association to pay for half the costs of the rental space and the table. We weren't able to get a body there. I think he had a conflict come up at the last minute, so this ended up being cheaper in the long run. Regarding timing, we had thought this was being less than $1,000. We could pay it on a voucher, but Finance or OPD, one of the two, asked us to put it through the on-base system. So that's a part of the reason it's taken us a while to get here. And then the other thing is that when the invoice first came to the city managers, they sent it directly to us. Well, we didn't have an agreement with ICSC, so we had to work it out through City Managers Association. They're not too familiar with our processes, so it took a little time to get all that worked out as well. So we're asking to have this approved for payment.
Thank you. Questions?
I have one.
Councilwoman Baker.
I guess, I've done my share of booths and things. Are you pretty confident that they represented the county, even though no one was there and they had their own interests to make sure were talked about and expressed?
Mr. Chairman of the Councilman, yes. I mean, we've actually done this a couple times in the past where we've shared the expenses and they've done the work for us. So, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Dever. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Yes, thank you.
Next item is a two-part item. Item number BC 2018-808, Department of Information Technology. A, submitting an RFP exemption on requisition 44034, which will result in an award recommendation to Dell Marketing LP in the amount of $322,240, and it's for the purchase of 3,800 Microsoft Windows Enterprise 5 named software licenses for various departments. And B, recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Janelle Green, Department of IT. These licenses are an upgrade to our existing Windows environment. This will allow us to provide Windows Advanced Endpoint Protection Services. This will allow us to protect all the county workstations, laptops, and desktops with the county executive agencies. Having this protection allows us to provide service to computers on and off the network that are county owned. It is able to integrate into our existing infrastructure, and it also directly integrates into Office 365 to assist with any malware responses that we need to have. Also, it provides protection to items as we move to the cloud application. So as we move to ERP and other cloud applications that allow us to protect devices there. We can expand across platform devices, including mobile phones and other infrastructure. And we leveraged our existing Microsoft EA agreement for this, and it also works in cooperation with our Microsoft Premier agreement, which will allow us to have training and installations.
Thank you. Questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Thank you.
Next item is a two-part item. Item number BC 2018-809, Department of Information Technology. A, submitting an RFP exemption on requisition 44023, which will result in an award recommendation to Entrust, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $60,485, and it's for the purchase of Entrust Managed SSL Enterprise Account Certificates to provide secure transmission of data on Cuyahoga County web servers. And it's for the period October 27, 2018 through October 27, 2020. And B, recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Janelle Green, Department of IT. We've been using this vendor for the last 8 years. It's important to be able to maintain the continuity of the licenses, and because it's actually a higher cost to transition to another service. The service allows us to either change or renew certificates, so we're not having to buy certificates as domains change, as they often do. There's maintenance that is involved in the back end of securing and maintaining the SSL licenses and certificates. This actually is a cost savings. 1 year was $55,000, which we initially thought we were going to do, but for 2 years it is at this cost, so it's only $5,000 for the additional years, which made sense. I don't know if you have any other questions in regards to that.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
I just
Councilwoman Baker.
Thank you. Only because it's regarding security. Is the 10/27 date, are we still?
We're still moving with that. They'd still allow us to maintain the security on our certificates, so we do need to have that 10/27
Okay,
date.
so between 10/27 and today, we're secure.
We are secure, yes.
And a follow-up, any thought of, given such a dramatical decrease in the second year, that we don't take it out maybe to a third or fourth year?
We are looking at that. It's not my area to do, but we are looking at the security options all the way around. So the first item was with the last one with the Microsoft, and this one will come up. But we just wanted to get this through to ensure our websites are secure moving forward.
Okay, all right, that's a good discount for the second year.
Oh, definitely.
Thank you.
You. Any other questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Baker. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item passes. Thank you.
Next item, BC 2018-810, Department of Information Technology. A, it's a two-part item, submitting an RFP exemption on requisition 43940, which will result in an award recommendation to M&J Technologies Direct, Inc. in the amount of $46,596, and is for the purchase of 60 HP Desktop Pro Desk 600 desktop computers and 60 HP monitors for the Civil Service Testing Lab workstations, and it's for the Personnel Review Commission, and B, recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Janelle Green, Department of IT. Department of IT procured this on behalf of the PRC to allow them to set up their own civil service testing lab. Just because of their scheduling conflicts, I mean, if rooms aren't available or if all the machines aren't up and functioning when they need to use them, that proved to be problematic for them. So we did go ahead and procure these, and these are within the county standard. So we just wanted to make sure that they were following the standard as well.
Thank you. Questions? Councilwoman Baker.
If these are not being used, can others use them, or is it solely just for this purpose?
It's for their testing lab. I'm sure they may have other needs for them, but it's if it's at their own building, which is definitely off-site off of West 25th.
Yeah.
I'm sure others would be able to use them for other purposes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Thank you.
Next item, BC 2018-811, Department of Public Safety and Justice Services, on behalf of the Sheriff's Department, submitting an amendment to a contract with Point Blank Solutions Ltd. for software support and maintenance of the in-jail system, and it's for the period January 1st, 2015 through December 31st, 2018, to extend the time period to June 30th, 2019, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $6,000.
Good morning, Mary Beth Vaughn from Public Safety. And the purpose of this contract, it allows law enforcement agencies to log into and find out whether or not an individual they're seeking is currently incarcerated in the county jail. This contract is being amended through June 30th to allow time for the sheriff's new jail management system to go online and for us to take and build an interface between the new jail management system and the data warehouse.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item passes. Thank you.
Next item is a two-part item, item BC 2018-812, Court of Common Pleas, Juvenile Court Division. A, submitting an RFP exemption on requisition 43746, which will result in an award recommendation to M&J Technologies Direct, Inc. in the amount of $156,800, and it's for the purchase of 150 HP desktops and 40 Elite Book 850 laptops and accessories, and B, recommending the award in connection with said RP exemption.
Good morning, Karen Littman with Juvenile Court. The court is starting to purchase replacement computers and laptops because the ones that we had from when we moved in the building, so they're becoming sort of towards end of life. So we're doing this, I think, in quarters, I think is how we're purchasing computers and laptops. So this is sort of the first quarter of those replacement units, and we're using special revenue funds for this purchase.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. McAleer. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Thank you.
Next item, BC 2018-813, Court of Common Pleas, Juvenile Court Division, submitting an amendment to a contract with Kronos Incorporated for maintenance and support services on the Comprehensive Human Resources Management System. And it's for the period April 1st, 2017 through March 31st, 2019, to extend the time period to March 31st, 2020, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $45,239.09.
Karen Littman again with Juvenile Court. This is a maintenance and support agreement with our Kronos system. This does all our time management and human resources management system. We've had the Kronos system since, I believe, 2006, and we're extending the next year, which doesn't start till next April. So we're not late. So this is the next year to take us through 2020.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. McAleer. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Thank you.
Next item, BC 2018-814. It's a two-part item, Court of Common Pleas, Juvenile Court Division. A, submitting an RP exemption on requisition 43744, which will result in an award recommendation to M&J Technologies Direct, Inc. in the amount of $40,376, and is for the purchase of servers and accessories. And B, recommending the award in connection with said RP exemption.
Karen Littman again with Juvenile Court. This is some additional servers and server pieces and parts. I can tell you exactly what they are if you'd like to know. Primarily for our iCase case management system. iCase is what we use for all of our case management at the court. So this is giving us additional storage and additional memory as we continue to use iCase. Obviously, you have to keep using more storage and memory. So that's primarily what it's for, and then also to upgrade the servers that we currently have.
Thank you. Questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Item passes. Thank you.
Next item, BC 2018-815, Court of Common Pleas, Juvenile Court Division, Domestic Relations Division, and Probate Court Division, submitting an amendment to a master contract with various providers for interpretation and translation services for sign and spoken languages, and it's for the period January 1st, 2017 through December 31st, 2018, for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $25,000 for the following vendors: Cross Thread Solutions LLC, Certified Interpreters United LLC, VocaLink Inc., Cleveland Hearing and Speech Center.
Karen Littman again with Juvenile Court. All of the 4 divisions of the Court of Common Pleas have come together to do this interpretation and translation agreement. Actually, Juvenile Court has gone through all of the money that we had allocated for this. We kind of figured this might happen because the Supreme Court came up with some new rules that we need to follow as far as using certified interpreters, and those are coming at a higher cost. So we've sort of run through our money, so we're using some of our Title 40 dollars to get us through the rest of the year. And we just completed an RFP that will start January 1st for the next year. So this will just clear out all of the invoices that we currently have.
Thank you. Questions? Councilman Miller.
Does each of the 4 providers get a quarter of the money?
No, it's the way that it's done, and it's done a little bit different at each of the courts, but at Juvenile Court, it's generally the courtroom, and sometimes their probation officers use them, will make a determination of what, of who they want to provide the service. So that's part of it. And then the other piece of it is that if there's a more unusual language that they need interpretation services, not every one of these providers has access to every language interpreter. So, Juvenile Court often has some more obscure languages that they're required, and some of these vendors don't have access to all of those interpreters, but each courtroom then makes a determination of who they're going to reach out to for the service. And then as well, sometimes you need more than one interpreter for a court hearing, so they'll often go to 2 different services to provide the 2 interpreters.
Thank you. Questions further? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item passes. Thank you.
Next item, item BC 2018-816, Court of Common Pleas, Juvenile Court Division, recommending an award on requisition 43742 with Wide Area Media LLC in the amount not to exceed $2,950, and is for the purchase of 1 mobile sound reinforcement public address kit.
Karen Littman again with Juvenile Court. So the emergency management had some surplus equipment that was located in the Juvenile Justice Center, which we had access to. We have been looking to get a sound system for sort of what they call the Grand Hall, which is when you walk into the court, that big room, because they often use they have big meetings there because it is a large room. And was no speaker system, plus it's got a really high ceiling, so it's really hard to hear anybody. So they were looking to get some kind of sound system, and emergency management had some surplus equipment which they allowed the court to take over. So this is sort of the last of the pieces that they need to use with the equipment that was left over to actually have this this public address sound system that they can use in that space.
Thank you. Questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Dever. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, BC 2018-817, Sheriff's Department, submitting an amendment to a contract with Black Creek Integrated Systems Corp. for maintenance and support of multi-component security systems located at the Juvenile Justice Center, and is for the period January 1st, 2015 through December 31st, 2018, to extend the time period to December 31st, 2019, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $129,641.
Good morning, Lylea Latham from the Sheriff's Department. We are just requesting to amend a current contract that we have with Black Creek. And this is just strictly for maintenance services for the system at the Juvenile Justice Center. And we are extending the time period and increasing the funds in the amount not to exceed $129,641. And the time period will be from January 1, 19 to December 31st of 19.
Thank you. Questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Dever. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item BC 2018-818, Department of Health and Human Services, Cuyahoga Job and Family Services, on behalf of the Community Initiatives Division, Family and Children First Council, recommending an award on requisition 42836 and enter into contracts with various providers in the total amount not to exceed $250,000 for the Teen Pregnancy Prevention Program, and it's for the period January 1st, 2019 through December 31st, 2019, for the following providers: Beach Brook in the amount not to exceed $125,000, and Planned Parenthood of Greater Ohio in the amount not to exceed $125,000.
Good morning, Kathleen Johnson from Family and Children First Council. This was RFP'd earlier this year. The two contractor vendors are Beachbrook and Planned Parenthood. They will equally split the amount. I did send the documentation over from Case Western Reserve University for our last year. Just to give you a few statistics, there was a decrease of 4.3% in South Euclid-Lindenhurst School District and a decrease in 8.8% in Cleveland Municipal School District for teen pregnancy rates. Overall in Cuyahoga County, we're down 3.3%, and these numbers are as of 2016.
Thank you. Questions? Councilman Miller.
Is there any change to the intervention model, and can you describe what the model is that we're currently using?
Yes, sir. We chose to go with Get Real curriculum. It's an evidence-based model starting in 2015. We chose to use that model because it was evidence-based. The other model that we were using was not evidence-based, and we had had it for a really long time, so we moved it in-house and chose Get Real. They do demonstrations. They have workshops with the parents. They have the classes are in their health classes with the schools. They start with 5th grade and go all the way up to 12th grade. They're in various schools in Cleveland, like John Adams, John Adams, Jane Addams. I don't have the whole list. It's actually in the evaluation. It takes into account the gay, lesbian, and transgender community as well. I think that's it.
And Are we operating only in the two school districts?
We are. Actually, the Board of Health is in many other school districts throughout Cuyahoga County, so we picked up the districts that they didn't cover. We are actually in negotiations with East Cleveland to provide services with their school districts as well. It's very hard to get into school districts because of the content of the program, so they have to agree to have the program there, and some say they don't need it, although their test scores or their pregnancy rates are very high, but we can't enforce them to take on the program.
Okay, fine.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Item passes. Thank you.
Next item, BC 2018-819, Department of Health and Human Services, Cuyahoga Job and Family Services, on behalf of the Community Initiatives Division, Office of Homeless Services, submitting an amendment to a contract with Family Promise of Greater Cleveland for rapid rehousing services for families in connection with the fiscal year 2017 Continuum of Care Homeless Assistance Grant Program, and is for the period June 1st, 2018 through May 31st, 2019, for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $50,000.
Good morning, Shari Ware, Office of Homeless Services. Last week we had 3 other family shelters, and this was submitted at the same time, but for some reason didn't come through at the same time. So this is to support the work done by Family Promise of Greater Cleveland in their work with homeless families and help them to rapidly exit to permanent housing. Family Promise also has staff especially trained to work with parenting youth, so families who are headed by young adults from ages 18 to 24.
Thank you. Questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. McAleer. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Item passes. Thank you.
Next item, BC 2018-820, Department of Health and Human Services, Cuyahoga Job and Family Services, on behalf of the Division of Children and Family Services, submitting an amendment to an agreement with University of Maryland, Baltimore, on behalf of the School of Social Work Institute for Innovation and Implementation to develop, integrate, and sustain best practices and programs to improve the well-being, stability, and permanency of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, questioning, and two-spirit children and youth in foster care. And it's for the period September 30th, 2017 through September 29th, 2018, to extend the time period to September 30th, 2019, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $219,026.
Good morning, Karen Anderson, Division of Children and Family Services, here once again with this mouthful, the LGBT National Quality Improvement Center for our federal grant. This is year 2 of the federal project, so it's a 5-year project, so I'll be back periodically every year, and again, this just extends our work into year 2 and gives us our new allocation of funding.
Thank you. Any questions? Councilman Miller?
Can you explain what the work is that's being done with this money?
Sure. The feds established the National Quality Improvement Center, and at the University of Maryland, it was competitively bid, and they then went out to local child welfare jurisdictions. There were 4 chosen nationally. We applied with our partners and were chosen. The work is primarily in 3 areas, and one of the reasons that we in Cuyahoga County went after it is that about 10–11% of the population, just in general, identifies somewhere on the LGBTQ2S spectrum. When we had done internal desk reviews and other ways of identifying our kids in care, we've been able to come up with just 2 or 3%. So we thought, wow, we're pretty underrepresented. And in fact, research shows that across the country that child welfare organizations that have good practices of safely identifying kids, it can be up to 19%. So we knew we were way under and we had work to do. That's why we applied with some ideas. So our areas are threefold. One is to increase safe identification of young people, both through our own work with our staff and through our community partners, and also to develop a network of foster homes that are specifically trained in affirming for LGBTQ youth. And third, to provide permanency, meaning adoption services or services to families when kids come in, so that we can get those kids safely returned and not age out of care.
Thank you. Further questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Item passes. Thank you.
Next item is a two-part item, item BC 2018-821, Department of Health and Human Services, Cuyahoga Job and Family Services on behalf of the Division of Children and Family Services. A, submitting an RP exemption on requisition 44058, which will result in an award recommendation to Harvard Community Services Center in the amount not to exceed $187,791 for Neighborhood Collaborative Services, and it's for the Family to Family Neighborhood System of Care Program. And it's for the period November 19th, 2018 through March 31st, 2019. And B, recommending the award in connection with said RP exemption.
Good morning, Bob Math with the Department of Health and Human Services on behalf of the Division of Children and Family Services. This is an award recommending to Harvard Community Service Center to be a part of the family-to-family neighborhood system of care. It's all about providing community-based services to children and families that are at risk of, that are either involved in the child welfare system or at risk of becoming involved in the child welfare system. And the whole idea of this family to family is keep the children in the neighborhoods, have community-based organizations provide the services, and really to address all the complex needs of youth and their families, focus on safety and permanence of children, and emotional and economic well-being of these families, and to encourage permanent and stable housing for youth that are also aging out of foster care.
Thank you. Any questions? Councilwoman Baker?
If I'm reading these dates correctly, it's about 4 months, 4+ months. Is that 11/19/2018 to 3/31/2019?
That's correct.
A couple of months?
Yeah, it's just the 4.5 months. This was initially competitively procured last year, and at the time Harvard was not recommended. The contracts actually started April 1st. Through March 31st for the 12-month period. Right. Initially, Harvard was not one of the organizations that's recommended, and since then, there was a decision made to, bring on another provider this late in the game. So, their contract will just be for 4.5 months, and then we'll look at amending those contracts potentially come April 1st.
If I may, so the $188,000 approximately, that will cover 4 months?
That's correct.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. McAleer. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Item passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item, BC 2018-822, is going to be amended to reflect a change in the request. Department of Sustainability recommending a payment instead of a donation to West Creek Conservancy in the amount not to exceed $5,500 for land appraisal of the Harvard Road refuse in connection with a possible large-scale solar development project. And it's for the period December 1st, 2018 through May 1st, 2019.
Hi, everyone. Stephanie Choi from the Department of Sustainability. This item is for the West Creek Conservancy to conduct a land appraisal on the Harvard Road refuse. It's about a 100-acre site, and they are in the pre-development stages of a project that could potentially develop large-scale solar on it.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Is there any questions? Mr. McAleer.
Mr. Chair, not really a question, but just one recommended change if the board is up to it to change it from donation to payment, just some concerns about the donation aspect and sticking with how we've done payments in the past.
Yes. Is anybody opposed to that amendment? Seeing none, it's amended. Any other comments or questions? Yes, Mr. Kennedy.
two, actually. Are we just paying for the cost of the appraisal, because it says not to exceed?
Just for the appraisal, yes.
Well, they'll send us an invoice that supports whatever amount of money. And then is the county gonna participate in the acquisition of the?
No, so the West Creek Conservancy will purchase the landfill, but we don't think we will purchase any of the power that's coming off of it.
Just, I mean, if they have the money to pay for the purchase, what, $5,500 for? Go ahead.
Yes.
Nora Lockett, Office of Procurement and Diversity. Usually when we do a payment, it's more of a sponsorship, but if we're expecting a service in return, then this probably should be an RFP exemption. Because usually with the payment, it's not a contract where we're expecting something for the amount. If we're expecting an appraisal for this amount, then it needs to be an RFP exemption because there's a service that the county is expecting to occur.
How do we do the sports commission, for example?
Those were payments.
Do we do an RFP
Sponsorship.
exemption for that?
Well, that's one of the things that we had talked about because we had mentioned trying to have a policy starting in 2019 because we've seen an increase in the number of sponsorships. Because there used to be, I believe, way back, there was a list where departments submitted years ago, probably under the old government, where if departments had different initiatives that they wanted to sponsor, like then that was a payment. They were not considered a contractor. In this case, if they're providing us an appraisal, then it's just like us doing a contract with United Way for certain services or Starting Point for services, not sponsoring the initiative that entity or organization is doing for the community.
When we do a payment to sports commission, we expect them to do certain things, but we don't have a contract, do we?
Usually, and it's a thin line, usually a sponsorship, if we support the cause or initiative of the reasoning for that organization and we want to provide a sponsorship, a payment for that service or initiative that the entity provides in general as part of their organization. That's one thing. In this case, if we're expecting a particular deliverable to the county.
Any comment?
As stated in prior payments to, for instance, like the sports commissions, there were never contracts associated with the item. So if we are receiving a direct service, which is the appraisal, because in return we're going to participate, then yes, Lenore is correct, we would have to have an RFP exemption. But Mr. Foley didn't elaborate on that at the executive review meeting, so.
Okay.
Mr. McAleer, do you have a view?
Mr. Chair, with the Film Commission and the Sports Commission, I think you're right in terms we expect certain things, but not necessarily something directly back to the county in terms of an actual deliverable. This does sound like we have a deliverable that's required here, which would be the appraisal. So I don't know, in order, maybe just to make sure our bases are covered, Lenore, would it be possible today if we changed it to RFP exemption plus the award too, so that way it keeps moving forward, but then OPD can work with Stephanie and get everything in order?
Sounds fine.
Okay.
Is that acceptable?
Yes, it is. So I'll read into the record that this is a two-part item, recommending an RFP exemption, Part A and B, which will result in a payment to West Creek Conservancy in the amount not to exceed $5,500.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Yes, Councilwoman Baker.
The funding source, is that a Department of Sustainability general fund?
Mm-hmm.
So that's coming out of your category?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't say that. I guess we just assume it, but
Just, general fund in our budget.
thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Passes. Thank you. We're on to the exemptions.
Next item, BC 2018-823, Department of Health and Human Services, Cuyahoga Job and Family Services, submitting an RFP exemption on requisition 43671, which will result in an award recommendation to United Way of Greater Cleveland in the amount not to exceed $1,095,450 for fiscal agent services for emergency food purchases for eligible Cuyahoga County residents. And it's for the period January 1st, 2019 through December 31st, 2019.
Good morning, Bob Math of the Department of Health and Human Services on behalf of Job and Family Services. This is just an exemption to have United Way continue to serve as the fiscal agent. The county provides, $1,095,000 to support 37 hunger centers. And United Way just serves as the fiscal agent. They're responsible for, managing the dollars, doing satisfaction surveys on a quarterly basis. The cost that United Way charges for fiscal services is 0.5%. So it's very, very nominal, to say the least.
Thank you. Any questions? Mr. McAleer.
Bob, is this the same amount as 2018?
It's exactly the same. It's been flat for actually a number of years now.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Have they, I'm sorry, have they requested an increase in appropriation? Or?
I think, I believe at some point, one of the meetings, Armin, with United Way had with you, did they raise the specter of possibly increasing that? They said they were going to.
We've
had
have.
some conversations.
Doesn't ring a bell, but they may have.
We haven't increased it.
It's been flat for years. It's
been flat for us probably the last 10 years.
All right, thank you.
Further questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Item passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're on to the consent agenda. 824 to 827. Does anybody have any questions? Are there any questions? Seeing none, I move to approve the consent agenda items 824 to 827. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Consent agenda items are approved. And I believe we have some other business.
We have several mission-critical items. The first is from the Department of Public Works, recommending an award on requisition 44145 to Service Master by Disaster Recon in the amount not to exceed $5,500, and it's for Bedford Jail emergency deodorization and cleanup of smoke and soot. And the funding source is Internal Services Fund, General Fund.
Good morning, Tom Pavich, Public Works, requesting mission critical approval. This was at our Bedford Jail. There was an electrical fire in the kitchen. This actually happened on a Saturday morning at 3 a.m. Our guys were obviously on site. The jail's fully operational. We had Service Master on site within a few hours. They were there to do the smoke clear out, soot cleanup, to get the jail and the kitchen back to be operational. That particular day, the inmates had cold food until these guys were able to get everything back to being operational. So,
Thank you. I move to amend the agenda to discuss this item. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Deber. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? The agenda is amended. Are there any questions? Councilman Miller.
What was the cause of the fire?
I think Matt can be more specific.
Hey, Councilman Matt Reimer with Department of Public Works. There was the health and safety manager for the county was able to narrow it down to a coffee pot that was left on, or the junction box and wiring inside that junction box immediately in the same proximity as that coffee pot. So we had that one location. Both have been repaired at this point by county trades.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Oh, Councilwoman Baker.
I don't know that much about this, but isn't there a breaker or something that in the kitchen area that if something was malfunctioned, it shuts down? Or no?
Councilwoman, yes, and that did happen, but not after the fire had started, yes. Okay.
Further questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. McAleer. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Item passes. Thank you. Next up.
Next item is another mission critical from the Department of Public Works, recommending an award on requisition 43555 in the amount not to exceed $4,776.11 to Service Master by Disaster Recon as the vendor for Cleveland Police Building emergency water extraction, removal, and dehumidification for the 4th and 5th floors.
Good morning, Tom Pavich, Public Works again. Totally different instance. This was actually at the Cleveland Police Building. Part of the 5th floor had a water leak, and it started to trickle down to the lower floors on the 4th floor. Our safety manager, he was on site. This happened, I believe this was after hours as well, during an evening, nighttime shift. Disaster Recon was there within a very short period of time. They were able to mitigate the water damage, remove the water before any mold started to set in. So this is mission critical approval.
Thank you. I move to amend the agenda to consider the item. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Dever. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? The agenda is amended. Any questions? Councilman Miller.
How much money?
I apologize. I thought Andre said it was $4,776.11.
And what was the cause of the water leak?
I'll bring Matt in. He can be more specific.
Matt Reimer with the Department of Public Works. So up on the 5th floor mechanical space, the Cleveland Police Building, the city had installed 3 new hot water storage tanks. Those are fed by steam heated water that is monitored by a steam system valve. That valve was faulty, and it resulted then in overheated water into one of the storage tanks, which a safety mechanism in those tanks then released the water to prevent overpressurization. Since that time, those tanks were installed by the city in an area that did not have a drain or any curbing. Our county trades have since installed curbing around those 3 storage tanks and a new drain so that any event like that were to happen, it would be drained off and not just run into the lower floors. In addition, we obviously repaired the steam valve that was found to be faulty as well.
Thank you.
Can we institute some kind of a program to find little disasters that are waiting to happen and fix them before they happen? It seems like we're getting a fair number of these kind of things.
So this item was with new equipment that was designed to have that safety mechanism so as to not cause a further disaster, and those operated appropriately. The valve in question was something that could not have been pre-identified, its performance, thus the reason for the safety mechanism on the tanks. But we certainly have our stationary engineers doing preventative maintenance on all of our mechanical and building systems and identify problems, probably many of which go unseen to this board many times.
Further questions? Councilwoman Baker.
It would make sense that you would have a drain by any hot water tank. I guess that goes back to Councilman Miller's question. Have we looked at all of our water tanks to see if there is a drain or some kind of catch guard that prevents this from happening again?
I can get back to you on that, Councilwoman. I'll have to contact our county trades to.
That would be
see
the
if that's the
preventative
case.
piece I think we were referring to. Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Item passes. Thank you.
The next 3 items are from the Office of the Medical Examiner. The first mission critical item is recommending an award on requisition 44076 to Perkin Elmer in the amount not to exceed $5,047 and is for the emergency repair of 1 Spectrum 2000 for the period November 1st, 2018 through November 30th, 2018. Funding source is the general fund.
Hugh Shannon, Medical Examiner's Office. This is a materials analyzer in the trace evidence laboratory that failed.
I move to amend the agenda to consider the item. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Dever. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? The agenda is amended. Any questions on the item? Councilwoman Baker.
So the specific piece on this that failed, I don't know if it's, well, the machine itself is for 5 or 6 years old.
Okay.
But I think the processor that was in there has been replaced before. It just wears out. But I'll have to dig into the specifics of this.
Any warranty or maintenance on this that is ongoing, or?
So we do have maintenance, and that generally, helps us reduce the cost of labor, but not parts.
Thank you. Further questions? Seeing none, I move to approve the item. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. McAleer. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Thank you.
Next mission critical item, Office of the Medical Examiner, recommending an award on requisition 44055 to All Star Laundry in the amount not to exceed $5,040 for temporary laundry services. And it's for the period November 5th, 2018 through February 28th, 2019. And the funding source is the general fund.
Hugh Shannon, Medical Examiners again. So the contract that we had for laundry services, we went back out, and the current vendor decided that they did not want to participate anymore. So we were kind of left literally holding the laundry bag. And All-Star had provided those services for us before and stepped up on a temporary basis until we can reissue.
Thank you. I move to amend the agenda to consider the item. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Dever. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? The agenda is amended. Any questions on the item? Councilman Miller.
How does the rate that we pay for this interim contract compare with what we're currently paying?
I'll have to go back and check because it's done on a by pound, I think, basis. And then there are extra charges when some of the material is heavily soiled. It's usually blood and things like that that are extremely difficult to get out. It creates extra problems. I don't believe it's all that far out of the norm, but I'll have to check the exact amount on the previous contract. I can get back to you about that.
Okay.
Any other questions? Councilwoman Baker.
Did you say we were under contract with our prior supplier?
Yes.
And they just quit within our contract?
No, we were rebidding the contract, and they decided not to put in a bid, so we got 0 compliant bids at the time, and
Did we go out to bid while we were still under contract with them?
I believe so, yeah. I mean, it was as it was expiring, and as we got to the end of the contract with no viable bidders, we kind of had to scramble to get something in place.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Dever. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Thank you.
Next mission critical item, Office of the Medical Examiner, recommending an award on requisition 44192 to Quad Star Digital Guidance in the amount not to exceed $684 for emergency repair of one iMac 27-inch computer for the period November 14th, 2018 through November 30th, 2018. And the funding source is the Medical Examiner's General Fund.
Hugh Shannon, Medical Examiners. So the one of the iMacs that we use in our digital photography unit failed. This helps us process all the digital images that come in from the various units, our investigative unit who are out in the field, the autopsy folks, any of the evidence photographs that we need to take.
Thank you. I move to amend the agenda to consider the item. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Dever. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is amended. Any further discussion on the item? Seeing none, I move to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Dever. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? The item is approved.
And then we have one last mission-critical item, Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Children and Family Services, recommending an award on requisition 44159 with Audrey House, Inc., in the amount not to exceed $24,999.99 for immediate placement services. And the funding source is 70% HHS and 30% general fund.
Bob Math on behalf of Division of Children and Family Services. This is for a 16-year-old teenager that the county's had custody of for about a year and a half now. The child has been placed in 3 or 4 different facilities, foster homes, residential facilities, and group homes locally. Has had serious behavioral issues. They've had to remove the child on numerous occasions. The teenager's been AWOL from some of the placements. They identified a provider called Audrey House, which is a group home for boys it's outside of Cincinnati, that believes they have the capabilities and the staff to handle a child with these kinds of special needs, if you will.
Thank you. I move to amend the agenda to consider the item. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Dever. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Agenda is amended. Discussion on the item. Questions? Councilwoman Baker.
Is there a reason why it was determined 70% HHS and 30 general fund? Why not all HHS?
It's 70% HHS and 30% Title IV-E.
Title IV.
I'm sorry. Those are state dollars.
That's not the way it was written. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Further questions? Seeing none, I move to approve as amended. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. McAleer. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Item is approved as amended. Any other business?
No other business at this time,
You, any public comment?
and no public comment.